I'm Don Allison. I'm a retired journalist. I have loved doing stories on history. I mean, I love breaking news. I love the big stories. I love human interest. One thing I never thought I would do is be a person who investigates or writes about the paranormal. But in some of my historic endeavors, I'd encountered things that really got me wondering. My wife and I bought an 1835 house in Northwest Ohio. Turned out to be quite active. We hear people walking where nobody is there. We've heard our names called. Radios changing stations on their own, all sorts of things. And at first I thought I was losing my mind. We're actually prepping the house to be both our home and the home of Faded Banner Publications. That's our publishing house. Started out to be a publishing house dealing with history, especially Civil War history, Northwest Ohio regional history. But once the paranormal things started happening, my wife experienced them, some of our friends visiting experienced them, and that really got me thinking, okay, I'm not losing my mind. It isn't me hallucinating. These things really are happening.
I can't say that it's haunted for sure. All I can say is that things have happened that we simply can't explain. I'm Gus, and this is Hillary. We own the Inn at Lincoln Square. It's a historic inn dating back to 1824. So this house was built, as I mentioned, in 1824. It's really known as the Danner House. Joel Buchanan Danner was the patriarch of the family. He actually didn't build the house, from my understanding, but him and his family, they got it about 10 or so years after it was built. It remained in their family until the 1920s, when the last surviving daughter, I believe it was Annie, she bequeathed it to the YWCA. And this was actually the Gettysburg YWCA for 60 years. It has a very interesting history. It is rumored that after the battle, it was a morgue, and probably also a hospital of some kind. On the topic of the morgue, obviously, as a lot of people know, during the Battle of Gettysburg, many residents hid in the cellars during the battle until after it was over. In the case of the Danner family, they fled, and then Mr. Danner, when he came back to find that his home had been turned into a morgue, apparently he was quite irate about it. That's one story that I heard. As far as paranormal occurrences, things many times guests ask us, this is Gettysburg, it's got a reputation for being haunted. I always tell them, I can't say that it's haunted for sure. All I can say is that things have happened that we simply can't explain.
My name is Jessie Grindle. I am a sensitive medium. My first experience with the paranormal, or ghosts in general, would probably have been at my house growing up. We lived in a house that was more of an auditory haunting than anything. We didn't really see anything apart from maybe sometimes a ghost cat walk through the upstairs, but mostly we heard footsteps of people walking down the stairs. And the front door would sound like it was opening, but it wasn't moving at all. And there was one time we were in the kitchen. It was me, my mom, and two of my sisters. And we were expecting my dad to be coming home from work. And where I was standing, I had a straight shot right to the front door, like I could sightline to the front door. And we thought it was him coming in, and we all heard the door open. And my mom said, "Oh, your father's him." And I said, "I'm looking right at the door and it is not moving." And everybody turned and peeked around and saw the door wasn't moving and he wasn't coming home yet.
as I would share these with friends, and especially my coworkers, I was editor of daily newspaper in Bryan, Ohio at that time. Everybody kept telling me, you need to write about this. My wife especially, you need to write about this. And I thought, no way. I've spent decades building a reputation as somebody solid, truthful, honest. If I wasn't truthful and accurate in what I did, I'd have been out of my ear many years ago. I thought, no way am I going to start writing about the paranormal. People will think I'm off my rocker, and there goes my reputation. Finally, I was talked into doing it. The catalyst for doing the book was a trip I took with my grandson. His name's Connor. He was 14 years old, and every spring break from school, he would want to do history trips, and he chose Gettysburg. It was for the history, not paranormal, although by this time our house was active, our grandson had experiences in the house, but we're in Gettysburg. I wanted him to have a good time. I signed up with Destination Gettysburg, basically their tourism promotion organization, and as being a journalist, they offered some sample things to do, behind the scenes looks. One of them was a paranormal investigation. I thought, I want Connor to have a good time, so we'll go on this investigation. They took us to Sachs Bridge. I did not want to go to Sachs Bridge. It is a historic structure. It's a covered bridge. Both armies traveled over the bridge during the Battle of Gettysburg, but I'd seen it. I was hoping to go to a field hospital or something really, really cool. But they said, you'll like Sachs Bridge. Got there. I found out that Sachs Bridge actually was one vast field hospital. The very worst wounded Confederates and some of their very worst wounded Union prisoners were left there after the battle. Buildings were full of wounded. I mean, these were the most grisly of wounds, people who could not travel with the army.
My most memorable experience at Gettysburg has been at Sachs Bridge. My friend and I, we go there frequently throughout the summer, sometimes during the fall, and we were using the dowsing rods, and I'm a big fan of the dowsing rods, but we were using the dowsing rods, and we were talking to who we believed to be a soldier. I said, can you point where you're at? And my friend said, yes, I'll take a picture of you. So the rods move together and point like kind of right in front of us. And she took a picture, and we looked at it, and there's an outline of a person like standing right in front of us, just where they said they were. And that was probably my most memorable time. We had a lot of stuff happen that night, but that one was like the cherry on top.
We were given a choice of different equipment to use, paranormal equipment. We chose K2 meters. They register electromagnetic fields, which the theory is that spirits give off electromagnetic energy. You'll get a reading. We used what's called a laser grid that will detect movement if it comes between you and where the dots on the laser grid are falling. And we also had a spirit box. Basically, this is a box that scans radio stations very rapidly. The theory is that the white noise allows you to get real-time EVPs, electronic voice phenomena. You don't hear them with your ear, but typically you get them on recordings. You know, the old-fashioned cassette tapes, or more modern digital recorders. The problem with that is you have to go back and listen. With the spirit box, it's real time and you can interact.
What was that?
I couldn't understand it.
What is our purpose here?
We're here. Virginia. We're Virginia. Do you have a message you'd like us to share? Camouflage. Can one of us, can somebody give us your name? Who are we talking to?
Grab it.
It's not New Year. The people here would like to get to know you too. There's purposes. Are there any soldiers here with us tonight? Is somebody speaking German? Did you hear me talking about Germans? You're familiar? 38th?
Right now.
Shit. Yeah, we have a foul-mouthed guy down here. How many of you are here? How many of you are with us?
Hello, my name is Amanda Thomas. I am the owner of Haunted Trails of Gettysburg. I moved here about 3 years ago and started my leap of faith, I guess you'd say, and living out my dreams in Gettysburg. And it's been very an incredible journey, to say the least. And I have a lot of spirits on our property. Gettysburg has always intrigued me. Spirits, like different things like that has always interested me ever since I was a kid. I actually feel like I've had this gift for a very long time. Ever since I was a kid, I've been able to feel spirits and not really communicate, but just sense when they're near. And Gettysburg has always been very intriguing to me. The Civil War has always been very intriguing to me. And my husband and I, we came here 8 years ago, and we just fell in love with Gettysburg. And we decided to start bringing our kids here. Every time we left here, we just did not want to go back to Michigan, because that's where we used to live, because we just felt like our hearts were here in Gettysburg. So we had actually no clue about the property and the historical value or the spiritual activity on the property at all. We had absolutely no clue when we bought it. It's funny because the house actually had been on the market for 3 years, and our realtor was like, I cannot sell this house. Well, we know why. It was because there was so much spiritual activity. It's funny because he was saying that some of the people that came to look at the house would leave the house and call him later and say that they had a headache or they were sick. Some people couldn't even get past the front porch. And I honestly think it just wasn't meant for those people. It was meant for my husband and I. This house and the spirits chose us, and I think it was because they knew that we would honor them, we would, help other people. That's the thing that I feel so passionate about, is helping other people to connect to the other side. And that's something that I've been able to bring to people. I never imagined that what I call is my spiritual awakening, to be able to help other people. And it's not only Civil War spirits that we have out there. We have an expressway that is right next to our property. We have car accident victims that come through out there. So in my belief, I think there's some kind of a portal or something on the property. Somebody told me that maybe there's ley lines that could also contribute to a lot of things. And I actually had one of my friends tell me that, Amanda, I think a lot of it is you too, because you are so connected to the other side that maybe, you are able to bring those spirits to, the property and help people.
Now, this was to be a 2-hour investigation. Unfortunately, there were so many people around, I thought this isn't going to work. Sachs Bridge is quite popular. We spent 2 hours and got almost nothing. We got one answer on the spirit box. The investigator was, young lady was trying to get answers, and she said, can you tell us what color coat any of us are wearing? And we did get a clear blue. I had on a blue coat, but I was underwhelmed. Maybe it's a good way to put it. Our investigator kind of startled. She said she saw a shadow figure. I did not see it. We went back across to the side of the bridge where we started, went back into the woods, and I will say there was a heavy feeling in the woods, and my grandson was startled. He saw a shadow figure. I didn't see that one either. So we go back to the bridge. We had about 10 minutes left in this 2-hour investigation, and all of a sudden, everyone was gone. We had the place to ourselves. So we started getting answers on the spirit box. Investigators saying, anyone with us? Yes. How many of you are with us? 7, 8, 9. Well, what year is it? 1863. And I am immediately thinking, how in the world are they hoaxing us? They want this journalist to give them a good write-up. What's the hoax? How are they broadcasting to this?
A few winters ago, winter is our least busy time of year, there was a weeknight in I think it was a Tuesday or Wednesday in February. And we received a review, and it said, wonderful inn, charming location, really enjoyed our stay. We just wish that the couple above us with a young child would have done something to discipline that child, because around 7 p.m., the child jumped off the bed and just started rolling over to the side, to the wall. And then this repeated over and over till about midnight. Very annoying, very intrusive. Then it stopped, only to resume again about 7 in the morning. Other than that, we have no complaint. We just don't know why people can't be better parents to their children.
There's a small problem with that.
There was a big...
There was nobody there that night. They had nobody, there was nobody staying at our inn other than that couple that was staying in the first floor.
That Tuesday or Wednesday night in February, they were the only guests in the house that night. We didn't have the heart to tell them that what they heard was, well, it was nobody's living child. That's all I can say.
In the not-so-distant past, over 10,000 gallons of blood poured onto these grounds from the dead and dying at the Battle of Gettysburg. Another 10,000 gallons from the wounded, and 15,000 unaccounted for in the missing. While the plasma and protein have surely broken down and returned to the earth, the souls of the men who walk their grounds have not.
This went on for a while, just kind of commonplace things. It kind of died off. It was getting cold. The investigation's over. So the investigator went back, started the car, sat in the car for a little bit. So I'm thinking, okay, if this is something 1863, would be soldiers here, what would get them going? I said, do you like jokes? Yes, was the answer. Oh, kind of interesting. Do you like music? And it was almost like I had insulted whatever this voice was. Of course. And my grandson spoke up and said, can you play for us? I said, yes, absolutely. And we started getting acoustic guitar music. Now, spirit boxes do give off blips of radio stations, but like very quick, like maybe a note or two, like bop, bop, bop. But this was guitar music, acoustic guitar over measures and measures, kind of getting louder, softer, louder, softer. And I'm thinking, how would they know we're going to ask for music? This is insane. And after about 10 minutes, the music faded, and I said, thank you. You're welcome. I said, wow, you're good. I said, can you play some more? Absolutely. This time, we not only got guitar, we got mandolin, although the investigator with us thought it was maybe a piano, but I thought mandolin. And then a harmonica kicked in, and my grandson's like, Grandpa, that's a harmonica. Yeah, another like 10 minutes, and this is crazy. The investigator came back while the music was playing the first time, her jaw dropped and her eyes got this big around. And she had turned the car off, so I know this wasn't coming from like the car radio or anything. I don't think she'd ever even turned it on. And we're just in awe.
When we moved there 3 years ago, we found out that that there was 2 marked graves on the property. Found out from the neighbors that it was a 2-day-old baby that had died on our property, and they just threw like trees and branches and just all kinds of stuff over the top of her grave and didn't even honor her or anything, just totally forgot about her.
We've also gotten a lot of occurrences of, including our innkeeper's daughter saying that they hear a cat jumping off the bed. And then we just had another strange occurrence that somebody actually saw something. The one thing that I remember is when we would come in here, my daughter would be like, well, he's upstairs. So there's a guy that she knows is always around, and he's apparently a grumpy old guy. And she just knows he's here. But she's never said that to anybody, so we've had some paranormal people come in and the same story about this guy from like different parties that we haven't shared that story. So it's kind of interesting. We don't try to give a whole lot of information. So when we have guests or even like our innkeeper or daughter say something, we're like, heard that before. But we don't want anybody to come in here and like be expecting to have X happen or Y happen or whatever. So it's interesting though, we have had multiple paranormal people come in and do investigations, and some of the same stories are the same, and they don't talk, they don't know each other.
And after the music is done, then she started asking more questions. You know, how many of you are with us? This time it was like 5 or 6. Can any of us give you your name? And we got a very clear 3-syllable. You could hear a on and then like a hard S at the end. And she said, none of us could quite understand it. And that's the bad part with the spirit box. And the spirit box is a lot of white noise, and sometimes you know you're getting answers, but you can't quite make it out. Well, whatever this was wanted that name known, because the investigator kept saying, I'm sorry, can you enunciate more clearly? And we would get that on, and at least a dozen, maybe up to 20. It was just many, many times, and you could just sense the strain in this voice. And finally she gave up, and we're saying, well, you know, so I was asking some questions. Are you a soldier? Yes. Oh, where are you from? What state were you from? And we couldn't understand it. He tried 2-3 times. So then I started rattling off states that I knew had troops there. When we got to Ohio, said yes. What was really strange is the K2 meters, the electromagnetic field meters that my grandson and I had, we couldn't get a blip out of them all night. They went to the highest level and stayed there for several seconds. The investigator sitting right beside us, hers did not budge, which I found rather strange. I couldn't see how that much energy could be manifested that close. She asked, can you tell us your age? And I should have waited longer, but I asked, well, how old what unit are you in? And we got 20. I don't know which question the answer was to, but then 2 more times, 20, and then unsolicited, captain.
I think opening your mind more is kind of a hard thing to do, because I mean, it wasn't until probably 5 years ago that I was told by somebody that I was psychic. And I was like, no, I'm not psychic. I'm sensitive to energy, but I'm not psychic. And she says to me, oh, you got a lot of like stuff going on up here. And she goes, but you said you were sensitive to energy. What do you think sensitive to energy is? And I was like, you have a good point. And the way I had to do it was I had to sit there and like meditate and, you know, just kind of research everything that I could, things that might work for me as a person, how I might be able to connect with those things. But I don't know how to tell other people exactly how to do it, because I believe everybody's on that spectrum. And, you know, you could be down here at a 100 where you're getting everything, and you could be down here at 10 and nothing is going to change that.
I actually had a near-death experience when I was a baby. My sister said I was like 6 months old, and she had like an intuition and a feeling to go and check on me in my crib, and she actually said that I was purple. So I believe that I had a near-death experience as a baby. And I think a lot of people that have had near-death experiences, even some people that have been like in car accidents and maybe fell unconscious, I believe that that part of our brain has opened up the doorway to be able to communicate with spirits or see them, sense them, that kind of aspect. And I also believe, yes, it's a different frequency. I believe that I vibrate at a different frequency than others, and that's why I'm able to help other people. I believe that I can, you know, kind of tap into that energy, because a lot of it, that's what it is. It's just energy that I'm able to tap into and be able to help other people with the spiritual world.
The thing was, when we finally were not getting answers then, our investigators said, "Were you hurt?" And this gives me chills even today. We got this male scream of utter anguish over the spirit box, and then a woman crying. And that kind of took the wind out of our sails. And we decided this was like an hour beyond how long we were staying. So we packed up, and as we were getting ready to go, another group came to the other end of the bridge, and we heard them getting answers on their own spirit box. So now my mind's whirling. How could they possibly have faked this? How could they do music? How could they broadcast to this thing? And this poor young woman who was very good, very professional, just said, "You can't." She said, "No, this is legitimate."
The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist.
We're going to be doing the Estes method with the spirit box. I'm going to be wearing the headphones so I can't hear what's going on, but I'll be saying what I'm hearing in the headphones, and you can all feel free to ask questions or say your responses out loud and see what we get from that. All right, going in. Hey, Wallace.
Is Wallace buried here? Did he die here?
Sure did.
Are you in any pain?
Too much.
Is there anything I can do to help with your pain?
Nothing. He's talking. Too much. It's going so fast I can't even understand what they're saying, and there was a lot coming in there. But I'm going to try to slow it down. I'm okay for the moment. My legs are a little shaky, but I think so, and they all want to talk about it, whatever is here.
We We did actually have one woman that came in here. She said that she had, I think she was a medium actually, and she was very sensitive to paranormal activity. And that was the only time we actually had a guest leave.
She couldn't stay, it was too loud for her.
She was
It
staying.
literally was like, I just couldn't sleep, it just was so loud.
She heard so much activity that her and her husband had to leave. So they left around midnight. They called us and they said, we're really sorry, nothing wrong with your place except for I'm a medium, I'm very sensitive to these things, and I can't turn it off. It will not turn off. I think also, you know, a lot of times it seems like when you're looking for something, it's like that's when it doesn't happen. It's when you're not thinking about it is sometimes I think when things do happen. So since I'm always thinking, all right, am I gonna see something today? Am I gonna hear something today? Maybe that's why I haven't seen or heard anything yet. I don't know. Maybe I just need to suspend all of that and just, you know, maybe one day when I least expect it, something will appear or I'll hear something. But I mean, the place is 200 years old, so, you know, it's got to have a lot of secrets. Yeah. Yeah.
Beaten and broken under mountains of fear, all men find a burning desire to live when faced with hand-to-hand combat. Is it possible these spirits burn on long after their mortal shells expire? Or does the setting sun carry them away to walk with the stars?
So we did a spirit box session earlier, or the Estes method as it's called, where I was wearing headphones and listening to the spirit box, and several other people were sitting around asking questions or making comments, and I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I was relaying the messages that I was hearing from the spirit box on out loud to everybody. One of the most unique experiences that I had during the spirit box was there was a gentleman that spoke frequently, and he had an Irish accent whenever I was hearing him on the box, and it really caught me off guard because I don't expect to hear an Irish accent, but from what I found out, the Irish Brigade was not too far from the location that we're at. You know, we defended. There's too many here. Can I ask you a question?
Yes. Anything.
Don't look back. Look forward. My energy levels before we started, I had been kind of channeling and trying to get myself in a good space, more open, so that I could hear or feel things that may be happening at the time. Once we started, I could feel my energy ramping up, and I could feel somebody standing behind me. I don't know if that was, you know, somebody really standing behind me, but I wasn't going to turn around and look to see. And by the time we had finished, I was full on, completely energized. My whole body, my legs were shaking, my voice was shaking. It was just, I just had so much coursing through my body at that moment. surprise. Natural.
Well, I decided to write my first book. I Met a Ghost at Gettysburg. I thought that would be it for paranormal. I thought, like a journalist, like you do, I'll do this topic. I'm studying this topic. I'm writing this topic. I'll put it together, do my best, bring it out there, and put it to rest. But there were some nagging things going on. The activity in our house kept ramping up, and one other thing happened with my grandson on that trip too, and I will backtrack a little. I'd had an odd experience researching things going on with our house and talking with paranormal experts, and in one of the haunted homes here in Gettysburg, I interviewed a paranormal expert, and when we were done, I tried to take a photograph. I took photos of him. I thought my wife was with me. I'll get her with him in the photo. And my camera would not take a photo when she got in the picture. My batteries were fresh. I changed batteries. I tried. I kept pressing the shutter. The camera would turn off when I pressed the shutter. Finally, I was able to get 2 photos. And I thought that was odd. At first, I was embarrassed, but the gentleman says, no, that stuff happens here all the time. Left there, the camera worked fine, worked perfectly the next couple days. So 2 days later, we ended up coming back onto the park from a side trip we had done because it was raining. Just when we hit the edge of the park, the rain stopped. I turned on my turn signal to turn onto Confederate Avenue thinking, yeah, I'd like to go to Little Round Top. I've always been fascinated with that part of the Battle of Gettysburg. I had forgotten that to the right ahead of us is the Alabama Monument, which is a beautiful monument to the Alabama soldiers. As I'm turning, the song Sweet Home Alabama came on the radio. Neither here nor there, perhaps, but I pull up to the Alabama Monument and the song's playing. I get out of the van and I thought, well, this is beautiful. The rain, it was fall, the foliage is beautiful. I'll get some pictures of the Alabama Monument. I could not take a picture of the Alabama Monument. I pressed the shutter of the camera and it turned off. I tried probably 24 times and got 2 photos to work. Left the monument, worked fine. Got up to Little Round Top, I went to the 20th Maine Monument. The Alabamians attacked the 20th Maine and other regiments there. I could not take a picture of the Maine Monument. Same thing, the camera would turn off if I pressed the shutter. I could take any other picture looking around, not that monument. We moved on, and I could not take a single Union Monuments picture on Little Round Top. My camera would shut off. Once we got off Little Round Top, it worked perfectly. The camera never malfunctioned again.
How does one explain the unexplainable? Rationalize the irrational? Refute the irrefutable?
Gettysburg has a lot of ley lines, and I'm not sure if our property resides on them. It's underneath the earth, and they're like magnetic fields that kind of amplify spiritual activity. I also know that Pennsylvania itself is known as the Keystone State, and that's because of all the stones and crystals. So that also plays a role. Actually, Gettysburg has a lot of like crystals and stones and stuff like that. That has been known to amplify energies and stuff. Actually, people, especially in this area, because it's a very holistic type area, people have known to cure their illnesses with stone therapy. But you can also tap into those energies. As you see, I mean, I wear my stones, and they also amplify spiritual activity. So I think it all connects. It all connects. So, yeah.
as Hillary mentioned, we've had a couple of paranormal people come here, and 2 different ones have told us that we need to metal detect the property.
Especially the basement,
Particularly the basement.
because there's something there. We haven't yet.
I bought a metal detector. I did get one a few months ago, and I am planning on doing it, and possibly filming it as we do it to see if we do in fact find anything.
We literally had a medium when they were doing an investigation call in, and they were talking, and the people that were here didn't say a whole lot about the area, and that was the first time she was like, here's where you're at, and she was telling us stuff she shouldn't know.
Yeah.
And she's like, you need to get a metal detector.
So you need to metal detect the property. And then another different person said the same thing.
Yeah.
She said the property, but I think more specifically the basement. So who
So we're not
knows?
sure if we find something or.
Yeah. It's kind of all these houses around here. Who knows what's in the basements?
Our inn definitely does have some interesting things, but this whole town as a whole. I've been here since 2003, and I've had experiences not just here. On the battlefield, I worked at another place for a while, at our house. And we're not sure if it was connected to, it was like right after buying this inn, so I'm not sure if it was something related or not, but there's definitely an energy throughout this town that, a lot of people either experience or hear about, and I don't know, I ended up moving here. I'm a reenactor, so I really love this town and love history. And so maybe that's why I, have more experiences.
My name is Desiree. I am someone that has had some experiences before with paranormal or ghosts. Being out here is a great experience. Being out by the campfire, having the opportunity to converse with other like-minded people about the same things. It had a creepy feeling pulling into the road, coming out here by myself, but I did it. I feel good about it. The experience here, seeing the very old house on property that's across from the field that they had a battle on, is something I feel it anyway. There's energy here that I feel, and I was glad to be sitting beside Jessie, the medium, and she had my headphones on, but I could also hear a lot of noise coming through, especially after questions that were asked. Definitely gave me hairs, the standing up on the back of your neck kind of feeling. I've had also other experiences before coming up here back in my childhood of shadowy figures walking behind me on the road, things moving in the house, lights turning on and sensor lights going off coming out of the house, things like that. Just a feeling of you didn't really see a figure, but you kind of knew something was there. Came out here for the experience. I love the history on the land and here in Gettysburg.
When I first got involved in paranormal investigating, a gentleman who had years of experience in the field sort of took me under his wing. He is known as the Paranormal Man, and he told me early on that he has great results, or had great results, returning to the same place again and again, and he would actually build relationships with spirits. And I didn't get to investigate any of his regular places with him, but I took that to heart. And a good example of how that can come into play is my first investigation ever at the Haunted Trails of Gettysburg. I was in the cellar where we're speaking tonight, and I started asking the typical questions, and we had a phasma box. The phasma box is going, and I said, is anybody here with us tonight? I got a yes. And I said, were you a soldier? Since this was a Confederate field hospital, I got the answer, yes. I said, were you Union or Confederate? He said, Rebel. Well, this was indeed a Confederate field hospital. That's well documented. So I said, what's your name? He said, Jackson. I said, is that your first name or your last name? Jackson. Is Jackson your first name? Jackson. Is Jackson your last name? Jackson. That's all he would tell me. So I moved on. I said, okay, well, what unit were you in, Jackson? He said, 34th Virginia. And I thought, oh, wow. So I immediately, thinking a higher number like that of a regiment, I said, so 34th Virginia Infantry. And you could tell he was not happy with me. He said, no, cavalry. And that was it. Jackson would not speak to me the rest of that night. We had interactions with other voices, but not Jackson. But every time after that, I would specifically ask for Jackson, and with only one exception, and I've been down here easily a dozen times investigating, with one exception, I have had Jackson talk to me. There have been paranormal groups here investigating. I have come down, they've been trying to reach Jackson, and I've come into the room. I said, hi, Jackson, it's me, Don. He'll say, hi, Don, and start talking. Sometimes it seems like other entities kind of suppress Jackson, but he tends to come through if I ask for him. I would still love to talk to Jackson. Can you let Jackson talk? I'd really... Okay. Hey, Jackson. I don't know if... I think the woman said let him talk, if I heard that right. Do any of you guys know me from before? No? You don't know me? Is Sanders here tonight? I thought... Not really? Okay, I thought I heard Sanders.
12 years.
12 years? What's 12 years? Hello, Jackson. I thought, yeah, Jackson is about, I thought about 12. Is Jackson? Did you say hello? Are you here, Jackson? Hey, Jackson, I thought I heard your voice, but I couldn't understand you. Can you say hi, Don? The people here would like to get to know you too. There's purposes.
Maybe, just maybe, ghosts are like Wi-Fi signals and radio waves, ever present just beyond our senses.
Walter was a Confederate that's buried on our property. We're still trying to do more research about him. Our property was used as a Confederate field hospital. But what people don't realize is that there's Union there too, because with field hospitals, there was both. And there used to be a barn on our property that held the soldiers, and then like in our stone cellar, we have an original stone cellar. We found artifacts. We found three CSA buttons in the cellar, so we believe that there is, soldiers down there. We actually just started finding Union artifacts on the property, and then that's when we found out that the field hospitals would have brought both. The Park Service has actually come out to our property and actually did an investigation, and from what the guy was saying is there could be still more buried on our property, because they would have done that back then. They would have just thrown the soldiers and just buried them, unmarked. So there could be still some that are buried out on our property. Still doing more research. It's really hard to get a lot of research that it's not in the town part of Gettysburg, or, you know, like on the battlefield, since we're on the outskirts, we're, you know, closer to Hunterstown, and there was a battle of Hunterstown as well.
Years ago, we were working on a project up the street. It was, and there was a house that we had rented, and the day that I was still living up in New York at the time, and I'd driven down here, and I got to Gettysburg around 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was the only person in the house, and I was trying to go to sleep, and the TV kept turning itself off and on, off and on. So I called the guy that rented the house, and I asked him, was there something wrong with the TV? And he said, oh, I don't think so, but I should tell you that there are some strange things that happen in this house. And I said, oh, well, thanks a lot. It's, 1:30 in the morning. I'm here in this house by myself. You could have told me before I got here. But anyways, I said, well, all right, well, I'll try to go to sleep, whatever. So I did manage to go to sleep. And then the next morning, before I was heading out, and I had my laptop bag slung around my shoulder. And it's one of those bags that, you can clip it on both ends and, hook it on or unhook it. And I'd had this bag for many years, and I'd been, on subways with it. I'd walked 30 New York City blocks with it. I'd fallen down with it. This bag was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. And I was feeling a bit brazen that morning. So before I left, I stood in the vestibule of the house, and I said, I pronounced out to the open air. I said, well, if there's anything here, I'm not scared. As soon as I did that, one end of the bag unhooked and fell to the ground. So I picked the bag up and I backed out of the house, and I said, I'm sorry. I didn't mean anything by that. I'm gonna leave now. And then I went, and then when I came back later that day,
You got your stuff and stayed somewhere else.
yeah, I got my stuff, and I stayed at the Travel Lodge down the street. And I said, before I even entered the house, I said, hey, listen, I don't want any trouble. I'm just getting my bag upstairs, and I'm out of here. So please don't mess with me. So whatever it was wanted me to know that that it was there. So again, one of those things that I don't know how to explain.
I've actually concluded that Jackson is not really a soldier. It's very intriguing. He said 34th Virginia Cavalry, and the research shows that the 34th Virginia Cavalry Battalion was indeed present at Gettysburg. And to really add further evidence to the historical record for Jackson, there was an officer's belt buckle found here in the cellar, apparently buried in the dirt in the old part of the basement, with a 34 on it. So lots of good historical evidence, but we believe Jackson may have been a camp servant for somebody in this regiment. He could have died of disease. He could have been, young boys would get wounded, drummer boys and so forth, or killed in battles. So I don't really know the full story of Jackson, but that's what the belief is. Jackson, and he seems to be a younger person, maybe 12, something like that, maybe a little younger because he likes to play. We've prompted him, Jackson, here's some marbles, would you like to play? And the marbles will move. We've had a ball on the floor, and Jackson, can you play with the ball? Yes. Also likes to manipulate, there's a toy train. It may even be down here tonight. It's wooden, like they would have had in the 1860s. I was down here with another investigator. We were a good 10 feet apart down here, and in between us was this train, just the 4 cars placed haphazardly. The lights were out. We were down here a good hour interacting with Jackson. And when we turned the lights on, the train cars were placed neatly parallel between us. It blew our minds. We looked at each other. Neither one of us could have reached it.
So my name is Lisa. I am originally from York, Pennsylvania here, in Thomasville actually. Yeah, I'm a nurse right now in the pandemic. And I just decided to pick up a contract because there's a shortage everywhere, and now I'm back home with my family. And when my recruiter said that there was a position in Gettysburg, I was like, yeah, absolutely, because Gettysburg has been the place for me. I've always loved coming to Gettysburg, Devil's Den. I've always been drawn there. So it's really cool that right now I'm able to drive through the battlefield every single day on my way to work. When I was out here with the owners earlier tonight, I was out here with Terry, and he said that when he is out in this area that there is a definite 12-degree temperature drop. And even though we are farther away from the campfire right now, I'm cold, and I'm sorry, I'm from the UP. It's chilly right now. It's definitely like, oof. I wish I would have brought my sweatshirt, honestly. It's kind of cold. And we're close to that gravesite. Yeah. So right now we are headed back to an alleged open grave that the owners brought me back to earlier. Oh, I wish I could remember what he told me about the divots. I think that might be where they found the artifacts. Now right here is, oh gosh, this is an open grave. They're not sure if a body actually did lay here. But it was dug for a body. The owner did find artifacts. There's some divots. That's what he was saying, is that previously, because they come out and they do metal detecting, they found a Washington inauguration button, which was very commonly carried on soldiers. You know, they kept it on their person during that time. He was very popular. Quite often I get emotional, like I feel a lot of sorrow when I come here. When I come to Gettysburg, I think that's why I'm drawn here. One thing I like to do when I get off work, because I work night shift, and so when I get off work, if I have enough energy, I like to go out to the battlefield and just drive around, take pictures, and kind of, what the hell? Did you hear that? Okay, thank you. But I like to drive around on the battlefield and take pictures. I like to go to Devil's Den. I'm always drawn to Devil's Den, and most recently I was sitting out there by myself and I just started crying. It was very emotional, and I get that a lot when I come to Gettysburg, and I don't know if it's because it's my compassionate nature that I feel like I need to comfort a lot, and that's why I'm always drawn to Gettysburg. I don't know. Because I'm a nurse? You know, is that why I always feel drawn to Gettysburg? I'm here to aid. And maybe I guess I'm telling them that now because this property was formerly used as a hospital during the war.
To those that are skeptical that come out on the property, which I've had a lot, I just always tell them to try to be optimistic or open-minded. Some of them are not, because they actually end up coming like with their wives or their husbands or, you know, other people in the group. I have had, though, a couple of skeptical people that have seen stuff and experienced different things on the property. One guy, he was actually watching a football game on his phone while his wife was investigating, and they went in the cellar and investigated, and he actually had a name come through to him that was a loved one of his, and he actually left the property less skeptical. So, but I mean, you're gonna have that, and I welcome that, because, you know, I just want people to, you know, be a little more open-minded, people. You don't know what's out there, and there's a lot. A lot that we don't know. So
I actually say skepticism is a good thing, because if you don't have skeptics, you're going to have somebody always saying, oh, that little beam of light is a ghost. And I mean, it could have been a bug, it could be droplets of water, it might not be a ghost. And you need those people to say, hey, there is a logical reason for this. Let's try to find out what that is. In the future, I think people will be more aware of paranormal activity and paranormal instances, because I think we're becoming more open-minded as a whole, I guess, in the whole community, that it's becoming more mainstream. And I really think that, you know, you can hone skills in a way, but you have to be interested in it. And I believe that more people are going to become interested in it and try to develop those skills.
One thing that I have found, I have talked to a lot of people in the field, and you can actually develop your sense of the paranormal. Sensing the energies is how it works for me. Some people are sensitive to other aspects of it. For me, I get the energies, and you can learn to tap into that. Often I will sense a feeling in the atmosphere when I just sense that energy, and often things will happen. If we're in an investigation, that's when you get your phasma box or your spirit box to start popping, or your K2 meter to indicate answers. As you can use a K2 meter, yes, no, just as you can dowsing rods. Another friend told me my wife, her name was Virginia, he was in an assisted living home. He said, I think I can tell you this. He says, people tell me I'm nuts, but I see Virginia. She comes to me in the bedroom, and I've seen her several times. My grandmother, Southern Baptist minister's wife, told me, she said that Henry, it's my grandfather, who had been dead for years, comes and talks to me at night. She was the most serious person. She said, I'm glad I can talk to you about it, and you don't tell me it's just my imagination. She said, it's real. So my purpose in all this is to get people to open up and accept this. I'm firmly convinced our time on this earth is not all that there is for us. Our energies, our souls, if you will, I firmly believe that the evidence is ample, does indeed continue. And I think if we think about that, we can maybe approach our life here, maybe be better people, maybe at least be not so afraid of death, not avoid it, but realize it's part of living. We're all going to die, and you might as well come to peace with it. And I think the realization it's not the end, maybe we can help mankind. So yeah, I do have a purpose out of all this.
Coincidentally, I would say my forte in nursing is hospice. And I think that might be one reason why I feel compelled to, the spirit world. Maybe in a sense, my job here on Earth is to help death be less traumatic. And obviously, a lot of soldiers here died quite traumatic. Just a thought.
I'm very thankful for what we have there, and I'm thankful to have a husband and kids that are very supportive of my paranormal business and what I do. And I'm really just thankful to be able to have this gift and to have the property to share with the world, because that's what I want to do. I want to share everything that I have with the world. I want people to understand that they have power and they have this gift too. If they can just be more open-minded, you can tap into this, and it's pretty awesome. So that's it.
They were fathers, sons, brothers, and more, with orders to march thousands of miles, shooting thousands of rounds at thousands of souls. The courage and bravery required for such a task, a testament to their fiery spirits in the most daunting of times. Is it not possible these young men, whose lives extinguished prematurely, flicker on atop the grounds they drew their last breath? While we can measure the height and mass of all men, their heart remains immeasurable. For have we not been surprised time and time again in our brief history on this planet at the miraculous complexity of life? A uniqueness ever unraveling as humanity marches on to wonders we can't even conceive. Whatever is out there, whatever exists, we will find it. Curious by nature, unwavering in stature, we will continue to unlock life's mysteries on our journey to enlightenment.